Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Ladies, understand something. The top end of a woman's weight is 145 pounds. Okay. My mother's 5'9", and she was 145 pounds until she was 50. That's the top end of your weight, because there should be about a 40-pound difference between you and men.
Basically, if the guy is rich, what ends up happening is the lawyer contacts the person and be like, hey, you know, your name gonna be all in the paper, so you might as well just settle out of court.
I can recognize talent. Even if I don't agree with the politics, a lot of the politics that was underlying in the show and some of the sentiments he was trying to share, I recognize artistry when an artist is present.
Yes, this is the definition of absolutely cooked. We'll never go back and take a look at her bad decision and take accountability for any of that.
Because there is powerful people in the industry, somehow there is a different law that applies to them. And I agree with that assessment.
What's good? What's good? What's good? Happy Monday. Peace and blessings again. I'm back. Feeling good. Excited about tonight's conversation. Appreciate all of you for being in attendance tonight. I hope Monday has treated you well. Shout out to my writers, poets, content creators, so on and so forth. You know the routine. I give my flowers out at every opening. I got Sydney in the building. I got Rob in the building. Today, we're going to talk about mental health. Why it's important that you take care of it. What happens when you don't really deal with it. I look forward to hearing what everyone has to say. So let me go ahead and bring everybody up, and we're gonna go from there. Make sure that you lock in, show some love. If you want to keep in contact, everything down at the bottom is available. So that being said, Rob, Sydney, good evening.
What up, though?
Yep.
Hello.
Yep. What up? What up? What up? What's the word? How everybody feeling?
Not too bad. Just chilling. My husband had a 4-day weekend, so I feel my days are off, but I'm at least happy that we got 4 days off and he didn't have to go to work. Other than that, not doing too much. Just following the news and everything that's happening. A lot going on. But I'm excited to get into a different topic so I don't have to think about everything that's happening right now.
Yeah, I know. A lot of drama, but I guess that's unavoidable. Nice little twist. I thought it was time for us to kind of go there again. We've done this before, but not really to this extent. Plus, on top of that, we have a different set of eyes and ears on this one. So I wanted to really get both of your perspectives on it. Anything that you want to say before we jump into tonight's discussion?
Mhm. Not that I can think of.
All right, well, let's talk about it. Mental health. What's
Speaking of,
everything all right?
speaking of mental health, you'll just have to ignore my kid. He's been on one the past couple days. I think he's growing. So if you hear him screaming in the background, I promise I'm not ignoring him. He's just having a moment.
Okay, fair enough. Watching Kanye West and watching Rachel Zegler, and I'm seeing so many different personalities jump on camera. They crashing out, they're lashing out, they're acting as if they got it all figured out. But the way that you're putting your personal business on social media is not normal. Between that and like cyberbullying and trolling and rage baiting, and like mental health is something that we don't put enough respect on. So I guess my first question in general is, right now, do you think that most people are in a good headspace? And do you think that people are really taking their mental health as serious as they possibly could?
No to everything. I definitely don't think people are taking care of themselves. I definitely do not think a majority, like, I feel like we have kind of separated into, it's not so much like a broad spectrum of people with about the same information. It's like there's people that are hyper aware, and then there's people that are not aware at all and don't understand how science works, don't understand anything really in regards to the medical industry and the body, and are more prone to believing all of the other nonsense that's put out there regarding health. So I think that there's some people that have so much access to everything that they think they know what they're doing. And then there's people that have zero clue what they're doing. And it's pretty apparent at this point with the number of people that are hopelessly addicted to multiple things. You could probably count out on both hands how many addictions that most people have, like food addictions, shopping addictions, TV addictions, social media addictions, addictions to exercise, addictions to stimulants, addictions, like it's endless. And these are all symptoms of people that do not have an understanding of how their, like, how mental health works and how to self-regulate. We have been put under this spell in society thinking that we just have to buy the thing that will fix us. And as long as we buy the right thing, we'll eventually have the like sun coming through the clouds, depression goes away, you never have any hint of mental illness ever again, and you walk and you're skipping and talking to animals. Like that's usually the other side of the spectrum. But yeah, there's a lot of people that think that it's just kind of you fix it once and then it goes away. But what people that genuinely understand mental illness know is that it's a constant, lifelong process. It's like addiction, alcoholism. You have to work on it regularly throughout your lifetime. And if you let yourself go, you're more likely to fall back into it. So there's a ton. I won't go into all the specific misnomers, but there's so many different pieces of misinformation that people believe, and things that have been exaggerated, and all sorts of myths that make people think that they're better off than they actually are. And unfortunately, I think most people are just kind of hidden underneath everything. They are so covered up by responsibilities and jobs and houses and stuff that they're not even aware that they're unhappy. And it's really not going to be until everything's stripped away from them that they're going to really sit there and get hit with what they've been doing.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sydney. I don't know. I think a lot of times we throw the word around loose because we just getting into an era where people are acknowledging the different variances on the spectrum that will qualify. You got like bipolar and attention deficit and autism and intellectually disabled. You know, I deal with the school side with this specific learning disorders, and it's so many different ways that we're just coming into a place where a lot of times people will admit that they have issues. I think every American citizen has some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder or some kind of symptoms, especially when you just throw like the word bipolar, right? Because everybody has two sides, right? They got like they mild side and then they got their wild side. But I think it's the word is thrown around real loose because of money. It's a money grab, cash grab. And again, we're just getting into a place where therapy and treatments of the like are becoming popular. So we're still in this stage to where it's hard to admit. It's hard to admit, and nobody wants to feel like they have problems. Nobody wants to admit that they have issues that they can't control, or why they up and down, up and down, up and down. One day you feel good, the next day you're ready to end it all. And a lot of times it comes from our wants and our desires, and we think that right. We think, listen, I was told I am bipolar. I said I got a calm side, then I got a wild side, especially when I'm doing certain things. It's hard to admit. Nobody wants to get help. So this is a good time for this, especially this discussion, so that we could start seeing what it looks like, realizing that there's nobody going without some kind of issues, and that it can be helped.
I don't find anything funny about it. I don't think looking back as a kid, when people would make fun of folks who were kind of like introverted or antisocial, there's always like this ugly side that I noticed, where it's something has to be wrong with us, and you're abnormal, or you are a creature living under the bridge when you don't know how to be messy, or you're not very emotive, or you don't know how to express yourself. Some people are loud, some people are abrasive, some people are overly aggressive, and some people are silent and more calm and meek. And some people just don't say anything at all. And a lot of people are not here anymore because they didn't know how to, or they didn't feel as if talking about what was going on was going to do any justice. The weight of the strain on their mind was too much. And how do you decompress and remove all of these different dimensions, causing you to submit to your darkness, your inner need to want to silence the yelling and screaming that's going on in you, while the outside world is kind of looking at you, not really having much empathy for any internal wars you might be dealing with. I agree with both of you. I never really truly believed in pills or medicine, depending on what it's for. In terms of like trying to re-screw everything that's loose in your head, I don't think popping a bunch of pills is the answer to resolving childhood trauma or finding ways to handle life differently, you know. And on top of that, you really got to know that it's okay. It's okay to feel how you feel, and it's okay to express it without judgment, you know. And I'll leave it right there for now.
That reminds me of something a therapist that I had in college said to me. I had been speaking to her about my desire to have like an out of body experience. There's a couple different methods you can drink certain things, or like mostly like Native American type plants and stuff like that. But at the time, I really wanted to try it because I always felt like, oh, if I do this, then it'll help me. And I would talk a lot about it. And I remember once she said to me, I find it interesting how you're trying to get out of your body, when what I think you should be doing is being comfortable being inside it. And I thought that was extremely profound, because I think that's what a lot of people do when they're sensation seeking, whether it's distracting themselves with shopping or watching social media or watching TV, listening to music, even stuff like doing cleaning around the house all of the time. All of these things are just sensory activities that reduce our own anxiety by distracting us from the thoughts that we have, unless we're allowing ourselves to actually explore those thoughts as they're coming up when we're doing what we're doing. But a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to do chores around the house, headphones on, blaring music. You can't hear yourself think, you're distracting yourself. And then you get in the car, you drive to work with the music blaring, and then you get home and you're tired, so you lay in bed and you put music on or put a show on and let it help you fall asleep. Very few people actually get silence. People don't get the opportunity to just sit and like be with their thoughts and let the things come through their head. And a lot of people don't realize how much stuff they've held on to. I love meditation, and I'm not good at it because I have ADHD. So like 2 minutes in, I'm just like, all right, what do I need to do right now? But if you start to make it a practice, you can actually start to feel things that come up that you've held on since like middle school, elementary school. They've done research and show that the brain literally does remember everything. Everything you tell your brain to remember, it does hold on to for you. And that's why a lot of people can have that like cluttered feeling in their brain, because basically, unless you showed your body that you have completed whatever thing that it held on to, it's going to hold on to that in the back of your mind. And you're always going to remember that you didn't do that thing. And so it's always going to bug at you, even if it's like a tiny little task. And so the researchers that go into this type of stuff, like memory and emotional memory, they say that's why they always say confronting your thoughts is one of the best things you can do to help you, because by confronting your thoughts, you're able to see, well, what is underlying this? It's not just your assumption like, oh, I must be feeling this way because I always blah, blah, blah. But you're going to actually hear your thoughts, hear where they're coming from, and you'll understand more. Oh, this thing from second grade is really bugging me. I didn't realize like that was something that I needed from myself, or I didn't realize that I hadn't healed that wound or whatever. And so we need to give ourselves time to empty out. There's a lot of interesting research to show just indulging in silence makes it increases emotional well-being. It increases patience. It decreases aggressive behaviors. It decreases if you like take a breather before you drive your car, you're less likely to get in a car accident. You're also less likely to be in a car accident that causes death and injury by I think it's 75% or 60%, something like that. So people really, really underestimate just a breather, just space to think, and how much that can do for you. So yeah, I'll pass it on.
First, I'm able to laugh at my bipolarness now because I used to think everybody was crazy but me. And I was like that for a long time, wondering what they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over, thinking you're going to get different results. Man, you couldn't tell me nothing. I am the smartest person in the world. The teacher told me I was smart. This and that, and I had got the big head so bad that I didn't realize that. Golly, I could have went anywhere in the world, and I would have been unsuccessful at the goals that I was trying to accomplish because I was doing the same things over and over. And then second, I mean, you're right, Sydney. Everybody got a vice. Everybody got a vice, but I think that's part of the coping mechanism to where if the vice is healthy, ideally it could be helping a person cope versus just going crazy. Because I know people a lot of times they'll say something like, I don't think like you think. If I thought about the stuff you thought about all day, I would go crazy. And I'm a conspiracy theorist all the way down to the rabbit hole. And then I'm my toughest critic. So a lot of times I'm sitting here sarcastic to where I know people that are able to block out those thoughts and do something productive that ends up being healthy, to where I would think like, why you can't sit still? What's wrong with you? Always doing this and you always doing that. And I'm realizing they're coping and it's healthy because they're not drinking. They're not using drugs. They're not, alcohol is a drug, beer is a drug. They're not self-medicating. They're not popping pain pills. They're doing the things they like to do. They might like to clean up. They might like to work on stuff. Now the new thing that the adults is doing Legos now. And I think that as long as the thing is, because I'm addicted to social media real bad, and I'm having to find myself pulling off. And I know it's soothing. In my head, I like to think that I'm finding ways to advertise my product so that I could finally make sales. But I've been on social media for 8 years now. I have yet to make a hair sale off social media. Also, I have yet to sell the records that I'm setting to sell. So I know that I'm just sitting there self-soothing, posting, looking at other people's thoughts, because if not, I will be hard down on myself. So again, I think a lot of it is coming from inability for us to define the parameters of mental health. What would be something good from it? Something. What are the bad results of having ill mental health? And a lot of the times we're not able to find ways to handle it, because again, it's something still frowned upon. And then also we can't pinpoint the factors. And I wanted to say this before I pass the mic. A lot of times when I was just looking at research that shows that people are born with trauma. The trauma starts in the womb. So whatever the parents went through, a lot of times is going through the child. And if it goes through unchecked, then you have these people that are not able to cope. And again, I have to use myself as an example. Some days I'm good, and some days I'm like, man, what is going on? Why am I here? Da, 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 da. So and then dealing with kids all day, emotional. They're so emotional, so you don't know, especially when they get to those preteen, teenage years, you don't know which one you're gonna get. And to them, what they're doing is normal. And to us, I have to go back and realize every day, I was the same way. Sometimes I want to be like, yo, what you got going on, man? And then I had to realize, wait, You was just like that. You was up and down, up and down. And then even realizing now what we've been going around saying, the teachers have bad days too. So a lot of times you have to, we just acknowledging that back in the days, you know, everybody put the good foot forward. I'm all right. I'm all right. You couldn't tell nobody. Definitely, you know how it is in our community. You better not tell them people what's going on in the house. And Or we had that family member that was mentally ill. And we'd be like, oh, that's just so-and-so. He just like that. You already know how he is. He's just special. Ooh. So now we in the stage to where we're identifying it. And my challenge now is to get deeper within so that we can actually identify what's going on, who's having these issues, and help these people out, not just for cosmetic purposes.
I was thinking about something as you was talking, right? And actually, it was something that Sydney had said that made me think about this. When you are, but actually both, technically, when you create a way to cope or deal with things that's going on in your head and you compartmentalize it, and you can put that to the side and still carry on with your everyday life. What I kind of just asked myself was, first it was in the form of a question, then it was more like, well, if that's true, then later on that stuff that you put to the back burner is going to eventually resurface. And not only that, it's not going to come out in the ways that you would have wanted to, right? Because you're technically trying to ignore it. Go to work, complete your task, be a productive citizen, a decent human as much as possible without crashing out. But you know it's still lingering there. It's like having a bunch of crap in your suitcase and you never look in it. And then eventually you start rummaging and cleaning, and then you have to go back and find that you still had a whole bunch of stuff there that you never got rid of. And then all of them feelings start to resurface like it never left. But it technically is still a part of you when you go outside into the world. So that's not a good thing. I honestly believe that you need to deal with it as soon as possible, even if it's uncomfortable, because you're not going to want to deal with it later on, especially as you get older. When you get older, you realize life is like, it's just like I woke up today and it's already damn near time for Tuesday. Like, this isn't like when you were 12 or 9 years old and the day felt like forever. So it was something else that you had said too, about the investing or using social media to kind of self-soothe or something like that. I had to cut back on it myself, you know, because I'm doing exactly what you're doing. I'm trying to move in those areas, but knowing that things are slow, you still end up getting caught up in posts and comments, and you start, like, I got a habit of reading the comments underneath the post because I'm nosy like that. And I want to hear and see what people are saying, like, because some of these men and women that be under these comment sections, man, they be wild. and they real troll, and they are like crazy. Like I be flabbergasted at some of the stuff I hear, and then you'll be 30 minutes before you know it is. You start at 1 o'clock, it'd be 3 o'clock, and I don't know if I do that to kind of avoid just kind of being alone with my thoughts, like you said, Cindy. Because when you're alone with your thoughts, you really, it's almost like I can't think of the movie. It's where all your past demons, your exes, and all that stuff, they start talking to you again, and it's like, you remember me? You remember when this happened, or you remember this day? And it's like, oh, I guess I didn't deal with it, and I think a lot of people do that. And then it's not necessarily a relationship type of thing. It's more like your habits and things of that nature that kind of just come back and remind you, hey, I'm still here. You didn't deal with me. Hello. So what do we say to people like that, that haven't dealt with bullying, who haven't dealt with the trauma of being considered outsiders, and it kind of lingered on? People who grew up thinking that they were weird, and they probably were never really weird. How do you tell people that it's okay, and that what's going on with you is not necessarily the case? It might be, like you said, something that was passed on generation to generation. It could have been something like that. So what do you propose the conversation, if you were to have a conversation with someone that's watching? I imagine that might be mentally going through something right now, and they don't really know how to properly assess it and then deal with it and navigate it. What would you say to them?
It's a good question. I'll preface this with, if somebody truly wants to change, they do have to be the one to want to change themselves. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can say or do or encourage somebody to be like or to do that will fix that. Like, you can't make somebody make the change unless they truly want to. But if somebody did show a distaste for a habit that they had, or something that they had never accomplished that they had wanted to, and were showing that they had the desire to change it, I would, the first step you'll want to do is to identify when and why you do that particular activity, or vice versa, if it's something that you're trying to institute into your life. What activity is it, and where would it best fit in your life? Because you have to identify the time that you'll dedicate to that task. You'll have to decide the frequency that you'll use this time for that task. And then you'll also want to make sure that you have all of the tools that you need from the beginning to complete those tasks. And then once you have the tools, the time set aside, and kind of a general idea of what the goal is, then you'll want to provide some sort of framework for you, because most people aren't able to just right out of the gate running, start a habit. And just my husband is, I don't even know, he's a super person, because he can just I'm going to start this habit today, and he just gets up and just decides to do it. And I've always been super jealous, because I'm the type of person, I'm I need all the alarms, I need a visual reminder, I need a big poster with neon lights that says stand right here at this time. But you have to kind of create something into your life that helps you accomplish that. So a very, very simple example, if you have a really bad habit of never ever doing your dishes, get a box that you put your dishes into, and that will start to guide you to, you'll like pick them out of the sink and, oh, there might be a little food on it. So then you'll rinse it off. And then maybe the next day you'll start like, oh, I could just throw these in. That's really easy. You basically just have to set yourself up to start moving in that direction, and assign things to that particular task that kind of break it down and make it easier for you to start attacking whatever this bigger goal is. So if I were to be helping somebody with that, I would try and get them set up so they had all of these systems in place. That way, all they have to do is start instituting the habits in their life. I mean, it does take a lot of time, granted. It's not just cut and dry, like, oh yeah, as soon as you have everything set up, you're just going to have all the habits. It does take a lot of practice, because it does take between 66 and 105 days, I think, to completely ingrain a habit into your brain so that it actually seeks it out. But getting all those things in place will make it a lot easier for you to get to that point eventually.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would think the first thing I would tell people is that you're okay. And then the last thing, or the next thing, I would see if I could surround them, or even myself, if I'm getting over my traumas, when I'm getting over my traumas, I try to find the root of my problems. So I would encourage people to find out where it's coming from, especially if it's rooted in the past, whether it's in the DNA or something that you experienced as a child or as an adult. What is the root of it? And then how can we identify it and cut it off at the root so that we don't have the same problems? The last thing people want to hear is that they're not alone, because most people feel like they're alone. But what you realize when you go through life a lot of times is that we have more in common than what we think. So I would try to surround the person or people or myself with like-minded people who have experienced the same issues and see how they're coping with their issues, so that they can get living examples. Because a lot of times when we run into people that think like us, that'd be like an epiphany right there. Like, oh, I thought I was the only one feeling this way. I thought I was the only one having this problem. What you mean you had the same problem? And then once you start there, if you see people that solve that problem, if they're willing to open their arms and give you a helping hand, that's ultimately the best thing. Because again, a lot of the problems we have is that feeling of loneliness. So we need other people around us to say, okay, you know what? Listen, I was there right where you was at. And this is how I got through this. This is how I got through this. And then a lot of times we have to be self-aware as well and admit that, you know what, we got issues too. You know what I'm saying? I like to say all the time, I'm a counselor, I need counseling too. You know what I'm saying? I don't reach out as much as I should, but I need counseling myself. Everybody needs that person. I don't know if it's a spirit guide or the mentor, or sometimes, you know, a person that's going through something might reach out and help another person that's having it like they are, and they might feel better with it. And they say, you know what, I might not could get over this issue, but I can make sure you don't have them. I can help make sure you don't have them. And like what you said, Sydney, a lot of times what we don't realize, it takes longer to break a bad habit than it is to start one. Right? So whatever issues that you're having, again, we got to go back to the beginning. Why did they start? When did they start? How did they start? How can we go about breaking these thought patterns, breaking these behaviors, so that we don't have these issues? And then when you really reach your peak, you become your best self, then you begin to, ideally, you begin to reach out and begin helping others because it's coming. And you know, once again, identifying the issues, what's the root of the problem, and seeing if we can stop it at the roots.
Well said. Well said. And I often wonder just how frequently we self-examine ourselves on a daily basis. I, for example, will wake up in the morning, think about what the day is going to be. I think about what my temperament is. I think about how I'm going to handle the possibilities of other outside challenges coming in my direction throughout the day. If I turn left and I walk into this, will I be prepared to move forward in the way that I need to, or will I fumble and lose it over something that I shouldn't? No, because it is for like I go into the day knowing that you cannot be prepared fully for everything, but you should be prepared as much as possible for the unknown, while also simultaneously telling yourself that no matter what comes, God is there, and whatever is going to be presented to you is never going to be so insurmountable that you cannot come away from it, depending on the severity, depending on what was already with you. Is it's private and intimate and it's personal. You can fellowship and you can have people reach out and have things in common, but when you lay down in that bed and you get in that shower and you taking that number 2, you're still going to have to deal with those things on your own. So I think a large part of developing a stronger pattern of healthy growth is understanding, one, not only can you talk to people about your weaknesses and things like that, but use discernment. You do not, I repeat, you do not talk to everyone about that stuff. Only a select few. Use discernment carefully and properly. However, you still have to deal with those things first, and you have to be confident enough not to use someone else as a crutch to carry you across the finish line, because it's still your race. When we get off the camera and we go back to our daily routine, you still got to finish this race yourself. You still got to cross. But just there's a comfort in knowing that you're not bound or restricted by people telling you that being vulnerable or being exposed for not having it all figured out is a bad thing. Once you get past the superficial societal pressure and you can just be okay with not being okay and it's fine, you will be a little more lighter, and it will make more space for the eliminating of issues that you deal with. Sometimes you might just have to go through a season alone. I digress.
What you said made me think. I forgot to mention why the habit is so important in the first place. A lot of people have the tendency to believe, which it can happen, but people have the tendency to believe that mental health. You have to fix your mental health first, and then everything else will fall into place. But it's kind of the other way around, where you really have to work at your life. You have to make sure that you're cleaning up your house, that you're taking care of your body, that you're taking care of your mental health. You're going on walks, you're going to exercise, you're swimming, you're going out in nature, you're going to see people, because those as well as like keeping your house clean is the thing that's actually going to bolster your emotional and mental health. It was something that I didn't realize for years. I was especially through she's trying to open a container and she can't. We are I fell for this when I was a kid, where I thought that, like, if I have my room in order, if my room is clean, if my desk is clean, if my backpack's clean, then my head will be fine. Like, I just have to make sure everything else is clean first, and then my mental health will follow, and I'll be able to be, if I act fine, I'll become fine. And I think a lot of people still kind of think that, where as long as they act fine, they'll become fine. But really, you have to embody the habits that will eventually make your body fine, even if you don't feel that way. We have to act on our habits even when we don't feel good, because that's something that people will do. I've noticed, especially with some of my friends that kind of are stuck in life, is they have this list like, oh, I need to do this and be this and go on runs and blah, blah, blah. But they sit around and think about doing it without ever actually getting out and doing it. And their mental health just declines because all they're thinking about is, I should be doing this, I should be doing this, but they're not. But it's so hard for people to be like, I'm depressed, so I'm going to step onto the treadmill. Or I'm feeling really bothered right now, so I'm going to take a walk outside. We're so much more used to, I'm really frustrated right now, let me pull out my phone and go into the other room and ignore other people. And so that's kind of why I brought up the habit bit, because we really have to change our habits first to help our mindset follow afterwards. And I don't really see a lot of people doing that. I see more than before. Like, we're definitely better than we were like pre-2000s, with that workaholic type mindset. But we're still not there yet, because there's still so many people that have the everything mentality, where they just have to they need to look like everybody else. They need to have that dream job and have 2 extra hustles and be selling on eBay, and they have to have their house and their kid and their dog. And like, people want everything, but it's just distracting them from the fact that they're reeling underneath and they're not happy at all.
Yeah, I'm with you about doing something, because I'm the same way every day. I'm thankful for my wife, because a lot of times I feel unsuccessful. You ain't sell 1 million records. You ain't sell 1,000 records. You ain't sell 1 record. You ain't sell a bundle. You ain't do this. You ain't do that. And I'm sitting here going through it all day, every day. And she'll be like, bro, you just counsel 400 to 500 kids. Go sit down. So with that, I want to say, a lot of times, one, we got to understand the power of rest. Getting rest. Definitely for the cleanliness, because they say cleanliness is next to godliness. But guess what? If you don't want to mop today, then you might not need to mop. If you don't want to do this, if you want to just take a day off and just chill, as long as your business is taken care of, you're not hurting anybody, you might need to rest. Because a lot of times what we don't realize is we need a time off. Like you say, Deep, all the time. You say this almost every week. Sometimes we need time to ourselves just to be in the middle of nothing, doing nothing, no responsibilities, so that we can find ourselves and become one with who we are. And one thing that I'm learning now too a lot is to admit that I don't know. It's okay for you not to know. You don't have the answer. You don't know what the future is gonna be. You could prepare and do all of this and all of that, and your stuff still fall apart. And it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't. And importance of reaching for help, and then also letting things go. A lot of times, like I'm one. I was always I used to hold grudges. I used to think about things from when I was 10 years old, 11, 12 years old. And it's one thing to remember, but it's another one to let it go, because I remember these things and they would stop me from moving on to doing what I got to do for that day. So I think that it's important for us to let stuff go sometimes. Sometimes things might not be for you. Sometimes trying to force the issue for something that you're trying to get done, it may not happen. And, you know, we have to realize a lot of times later down the line, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. So let that go. You might have to work on something else. And I want to reiterate what you were saying, Sydney, because a lot of times you're right. People, we think ourselves into paralysis to where we think about doing so much. The whole day is spent. We so exhausted that, you know what? We ain't wake up and put one foot in front of the other, because no matter what, you got to get up and get to it. So rest, identify that it's okay not to know everything. You may not know what's wrong with you. You may not know what's going on. Embrace that and accept that as normal. Know that every day ain't going to be a good day. Every day ain't going to be a bad day. But if you prepare for tomorrow, you may have a better day. And ask for help. And then I'll reiterate what you said a couple weeks ago, Deep, that a lot of times, whether you spiritual or not, you got to pray. I don't know, you know, whoever you pray to is on you. But in a sense, you got to say, listen, whatever it is, whoever, however, whenever, wherever, help me today. I need help. You know, I'm trying to get through this, and please guide me through this, and pray for what you want, and set your plans and set your goals, and work towards them one step at a time.
Break cycles, habits. To do it, you have to be in a space where you want to do it. You have to be broken down. There has to be a level of humility present. The opinions of others cannot be more important than the opinion of yourself. The world can matter to you more than God matters to you. A lot of people right now, they are discombobulated all over the place. You can't form congruent sentences. Your relationship profile looks like a monsoon hit it you're so concerned about being liked by everybody else that you don't even like yourself, but it's dependent on other people. So if they say you're somebody, then you feel like you're somebody until nobody notices you, and now you're just adrift in the wind. It can't be like that. You got to speak words of affirmation over yourself daily. I'm a king, I'm a queen, and I am healed. I am a child of God. I am healthy. I will do this. I will. There shouldn't be can't in your vocabulary. When things happen, like last week, a vehicle ran over my e-bike. It ran over the charger. I was on the road. The charger fell in the street, and I went to go back and grab it. The car looked at me. The driver looked at me as I was going back for it, turned his wheel, and ran over my charger. Now, let's just say I wasn't really thrilled about it, because I'm gonna have to have that replaced, and I can't use it. But I had to look at it like this: it could have been worse. I control my attitude and how I feel towards the ignorance of other people. I made it home. And on top of that, I probably had one of the better conversations than I've had in a long time that same day, because I didn't crash out. I don't like the excuses that some people make. They blame their attitudes or their behavior on how other people treat them. Oh, you blame other people for why you're an asshole, or why there's so much clutter in your life. You're a hoarder. There's nobody else to blame for that. You let them come into your life and leave crap all over your house. Get rid of it.
Well, people like to give me gifts. It's not my fault.
Bazinga.
Exactly. Pointing the fingers way too much. Now if it's something that you're just having a hard time with, and you don't really know where to go, that's something else. But the people who like complain chronically and gaslight, and they use that to their advantage to make people feel sorry for them, I don't care too much about what you got going on. I got a question. What does unhealthy mental health look like to you? It can be anything. I'm talking about you do not have none of your stuff in order internally, and it shows. It's quite obvious. What does that look like to you?
One of the first things I would expect to see is external signs of disorganization. So they might have a history of unpaid bills, a history of debt. Their house might be dirty, disorganized, dusty. Show evidence that they don't know how to manage incoming flow of tasks and requirements. I might also expect to see use of particular things, mind-altering drugs or alcohol, smoking cigarettes, excessive consumption of sugar. I could probably also expect that they are not taking care of their body either. Usually when somebody is not right in their mind, they're more likely to take long periods of time without taking showers. They're less likely to use things like deodorant or shaving or other things that are just another task that I have to do to take care of myself. And I would also expect them to either be hyper social in the sense that they're in everyone's business. They're trying to engage with all the crowds that they can, and they're just like, they're really boisterous, like getting into somebody's business or getting all up close and personal to you when you're like, dude, like, go away, step out. They might be like really boisterous, or like think of an unhinged like college boy in a fraternity or something, like that type of behavior where they're like completely disrespectful of you. They're making jokes at you, don't care what those jokes mean to you. Or on the flip side, they're going to be very closed off. They're going to be, I don't want to talk to people. Like, they don't want suggestions. They don't want advice. If you try and tell them anything, they'll either give you the hand, like, or the grumble, like, you don't get to tell me. And they're also more likely to be like completely against being around other people. They're going to be stuck inside their house. They don't want to get out. They are probably like very passive at work or in other things that they do. They're not going to go above and beyond for things that they care about. And in all of these groups, there's going to be a lack of engagement in their passions. There's not going to be any giving back. It's all going to be me, all about me. You need to soothe me. You need to give me what I want. You need to give me attention, blah, blah, blah. Whatever thing they feel is going to help them, they need it from other people because they cannot do it for themselves. So overall, they're going to appear very dysfunctional. They'll probably make you uncomfortable in some way, whether it's a nervousness and not sure how they're going to react, or like, dude, get out of my space. And they'll probably say things that are distasteful to other people because that is how you keep people away that you don't trust.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the self-destructive. Shout out to Michael G and Section 8, homie. Y'all hitting it right on the point with your comments. Chiming in. I think it's self-destructive when they doing things to hurt themselves, or they're trying to hurt other people. A lot of miserable people I see, from my personal opinion, they worry about other people, or they point out flaws. When I hated myself, I noticed that I will point out a flaw in everybody in order to make myself feel comfortable. I also, on the other end, would downgrade myself in front of other people to make them feel better. It was, oh, I got a big nose. I got a bullet head. Or guess what? You know what? I ain't successful, da 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 da. And it's like, why are you doing this to make people feel comfortable? You don't have to do that. But it took years of studying history, specifically Black history, to understand my train of thoughts and to begin to love myself. So I think it's a lot of destructive habits. You burning bridges. You can't get along with nobody. Everybody is crazy but you. You won't accept responsibility for your behavior. You're doing the same things over and over and over, wondering when people right, why people you feeling like the outcast, but you're not realizing you're doing the same behaviors that make people don't want to be around you. I think just that, it's what we call it now, toxic or whatever. You just can't function. Everywhere you go, it's an argument. Like I look at people, you can't even go to the store. You trying to get gas, like you got to start an argument getting gas. You want to argue with the waiter or the waitress. You want to sit here and gossip about everybody else, da 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 da. When we could see it, everybody could see you the one miserable, but you always keep other people names in your mouth, or just the failure to acknowledge, you know what, I got issues, and everybody else, I ain't the one with issues. It's them. It's like you said, it was them when I was 5 years old. This was happening, and this the way I am. Nah, this is not good. You know what I'm saying? Anytime that you're harming others, especially children, and you're not making sure that those children learn how to solve their problems, learn how to deal with the ups and downs of life. If you're making excuses, then yeah, that will be a definite sign of mental illness, not acknowledging and taking responsibility for yourself, and also making excuses or dealing with people that make the same excuses. That's not good to me.
All part of the plan.
I'm not going to use the S word, but I'm going to say this. It's a revolving door. And what I mean is, it's been made unpopular to seek help. It's cheesy. Just put a Band-Aid on it. Oh, you ain't no real man. You ain't no real woman. You gonna see a therapist? What? You what? You had what happened to you when you was you? Oh no. You're gonna get scolded, and you're gonna get mocked for it, and you're gonna get punished for it. Like there's some type of prize or award given out for wanting to be healed. So when you start to open up and release whatever it is that's latched on to you, the world in turn pays you back with judgment, and that's counterproductive. When you go on Twitter or IG or wherever, and you start to open up and express parts of your life and try to mask it and say, this ain't really my life, I'm just babbling. No, you're not. Some people are doing it, but some people aren't doing that. Some people are really sharing their hardships up here. And the pastors, the scrollers, you're not making it any better. Some of you are pretty chill and kind, but a lot of you, you're a part of the problem. You're exacerbating it. So, like you said, Rob, Michael G said, hell, Greg said it as well. You know, it's clear to see. There are major red flags. It's not well covert hitting or nothing like that. You can clearly tell that a person got stuff going on. And I think we need to be more caring about it and more empathetic. My advice, kill the noise around you. Own up to what you got going on. Hell, make a list and address it one thing at a time until you resolve it. I mean, there's a number of ways to do it. Make sure that you're in an environment that is conducive to your train of thought. Don't be trying to find healing in a loud ass space where everyone around you is cussing and yelling and gossiping and spewing out nothing but venom. You got to give yourself the best chances at really clearing out your head and getting some of that stuff off of you. Hopefully something here stuck out and helped someone, or it made a lot of sense to somebody, you know, because that ain't it's not a joke. People are in jail, people are dead, people are in behind padded walls. I didn't even do the video for it yet, but I'm probably going to. We got another teacher behind bars for inappropriately dealing with. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go too detailed into that one. I'll probably end up dropping that sometime this week. But your health, your mental health especially, is important. And I do think that you cleaning and making sure that, like, you don't have a bunch of junk on the floor and like dust and sickness in the air, spray Lysol, wipe down, do all that. And absolutely get some fresh air. It's raining right now. I love it. Because everything quiet. Everything gets like shh. Anything that y'all want to close out with on this subject, or anything in response to the comments or anything?
First, I wanted to say the process is a really long process. I started really working on my mental health probably back when I was like 11 or 12, when I first started learning about like personality issues and behavioral disorders. I have been diagnosed with a couple different things that I've always had and always known I've had, but it took me a really long time to actually get properly diagnosed with these things. But it can feel extremely overwhelming, especially when you're in the early stages and you don't really know what to do with yourself and all of your negative habits. I come from a family background where I've had my dad and my biological grandmother both have hoarding disorder. And I also have like personality issues and stuff like that. And it seemed really, really overwhelming to think like I have to change my whole life, because I had originally used the fear tactic, like fearing my way into a normal life. And I would tell myself, like, if you don't figure this thing out, you're going to go to jail. If you don't figure this thing out, then you're never going to have a job. You're never going to get married. Your kids are going to be all messed up. And so I, for a very, very long time, switched between like high productivity and deep depression, because I never felt like I was good enough, but I was trying to force myself to be good enough. And it really wasn't until I got with my husband that I started to realize that it was little small changes in your life. You don't have to do everything. I see a lot of people, especially on YouTube, when they're like showing their curated lifestyle, like they have their matching workout outfit, and then they get on their matching treadmill, and then they go into their matching car, and then like you don't have to have this like sad beige life to be mentally stable. You can still create a life that you find beautiful, that you find uplifting, and that matches your personality without copying what everyone else is doing. But it still is a really good blueprint to see some of the things that you could do to make yourself healthy. Working out is something that I did not take seriously. I was like, I'm already running around the house all the time. I don't need to exercise. That's not for me. But since I've started exercising regularly, I realized that it does actually flatten your moods. It helps with, it's something to look forward to. So now during, like, I can almost sense what time of day it is, and I don't get lost in my mind because I'm like, I have to do my stuff soon. And so having a schedule and having things to look forward to that are small and achievable. Like I'm not working out for 2 hours. I'm working out for like 15 to 20 minutes. But these help me, like, what's the word? Navigate, kind of like it's almost like a compass where it points me in the right direction. Like, where should I be in the day? Like, do I need to catch up? Do I need to, like, do I have time to rest or whatever? But yeah, getting a routine set up for yourself is incredibly helpful. Getting a way to release your energy is extremely helpful. And then getting a way to release your thoughts is very helpful, whether it's singing or writing or I don't even know. People have so many different methods that they use for like getting their thoughts out, but finding a way to express yourself to the air, not to people, to the air. Because when you express yourself to the air, you are honest and you are saying it for you, not for everyone else. But if you're writing like, oh, I'm going to write this poem so I can help all these other people, it's no longer for you. And so I would like to do writing and do prayer and do like meditations that are specifically for myself. That way I can do the stuff that's specific to me without all of the, like, my mom's advice, my husband's preference, my mother-in-law's ideas, and all the other stuff that can kind of leak in and make you think, oh, well, I should also add this because they said that. So it can take some time to clear the clutter. It definitely took me at least 10 years to bring my mind down to a manageable level. So I wasn't just this like raging. I was the crazy one. I used to be the crazy one. The one that was you could probably tell I was the chatterbox that was like, for hours when somebody was trying to sleep, I was just like unraveling my whole day to them. And yeah, that's definitely my testament that it does work. It just takes a really, really long time. And it can feel very alone, especially if you don't know other people around you that are also willing to make that work. It can be very hard being surrounded by other people that are still indulging in the same things that you're trying to leave behind. Like if you have friends that are also drinkers, or if you go shopping with your friends typically, it can be hard to abandon those habits, but it can feel extremely freeing once they are gone. And I just kind of want to motivate anybody who's trying to make habit changes. Keep pushing. I know it can be really overwhelming because you might think like, well, what if I don't like this life, or what if I'm not good at this, or whatever. But the thing, wherever your heart pulls you to, that's likely going to be the best thing for you, because your heart knows who you should be deep down, and it will take you out of all the other stuff that people have kind of assigned to you. So yeah, journaling can help you. Meditation can help you just release and let stuff out. And that can really help with your growth. So I suggest this book. It's called Meditations. It's from like 100 AD or something like that. But he talks a lot about being with the self and how to kind of release all of the stuff that you've been holding on to in your life.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. I gotta say, I am not a self-help guru. I am not the Swami. I do not have it all together. I have bad days, more than I would like to admit. But I would start with first finding out where the issues are coming from, especially if it's an illness. Is it in the family? Is it in the DNA? How have people dealt with it in the family? How have people dealt with it around you? And developing a healthy self-love, because a lot of times we are our worst critics, and that puts us in a hole to where we feel like we could never dig out because we think that we are the only one going through it. So definitely finding out how to love yourself, how to help yourself, because definitely I believe you can't help yourself or love others until you love yourself. I mean, you can't help others or love others until you can do that for yourself in a productive manner where you could be alone when it's time to separate. You could be around people when it's time to be around people. I think self-love, once you find out that you can get through these things, then it's usually like a light bulb where you get a whole lot of energy because you say, you know what, this is not so bad. I would say that every day ain't gonna be sunny. Like my DJ Renato tell me all the time. He say, hey, every day ain't gonna be sunny, man. You're gonna have some rainy days. You're gonna have to get through it and keep your head up. And with that is a lot of times we have to learn how to look at where we are today compared to where we would like to be tomorrow. By the end of the year, 20 years, 10 years, and seeing where we are, we may not be where we like to be, but we can set a course to get there. Like you said, Sydney, definitely it don't happen overnight. It's an everyday thing where you have to focus on yourself every day to make sure that you are doing the little things to go in those directions. And then also without getting too complicated, to realize we never get everything we want. So what is a happy medium? I might have went, what they say, if you reach for the stars, you land on the moon. How that go, Sydney?
If you shoot for the stars and you fail, you'll still land among the moon or something like that. Shoot for the moon and you'll still land among the stars. Something like that.
Yeah, realize, you may not have accomplished the goals the way you wanted to, or things didn't come out perfect like you thought it would, but at least find comfort in the fact that you tried. I think a lot of people don't even try. And those are the ones who are most sarcastic. Those are the ones who are most judgmental because they want to sit on their couch and act like they did. You know how if you're watching a fight, a boxing match, if I was in there, I would have did this and not that. Man, stop. You looking at, you watching Wheel of Fortune, and you should have got that answer. You watching Jeopardy. Man, you should have did this and that. You're not realizing that when you're under that same pressure, you don't know how you're gonna respond. You know what I'm saying? So get your feet wet, get out there and try before you give up. Straight up, try, give yourself an effort and be happy with the fact that you gave an effort and start doing the little things so that eventually you can begin to do the big things. And then again, without, like you said, without seeking emotional comfort for people to just tell you you're right. Actually look for like-minded people who have experienced similar things to you, whether old or young, so that you can see how they're solving their problems constructively, so that you can find strategies to incorporate into your own. And then if you're going through it, also reach out. You'd be surprised.
Go to class?
You never know. You might be going through something, and you could find a whole healing in helping other people get over what you was going through. That could be a way you heal yourself, because a lot of times the things that's going on within us, they're gonna stick within us. But if we can help, guess what? You ain't gonna have those problems, especially for a child. You're not gonna have those problems. You're gonna be better than me. So I think that would be real cathartic to actually help somebody solve the problems that you're having.
It's a lot to take, and it is a slow process. And a lot of tonight should be a friendly reminder that you aren't alone. There are people that can relate. You're not an alien. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. The world already does enough. We don't need to topple and pile on what they are already doing. You know, I enjoyed this thoroughly. Shout outs to Michael. Shout out to Greg. Everybody who pulled up for the stream tonight, that reposted. Thank you for being in attendance. Hopefully you got something out of this. If not from me, from Rob or from Sydney. Your health matters. What you feel matters. What you think about yourself matters. Don't allow anyone else to tell you otherwise or narrate your future. This is your walk to finish, if you so choose to. And that's all I gotta say, man. I thank y'all again for tapping in. I don't know if you're a visitor or if you've been on the streams before. If you are new, I appreciate you for being here. If you are a returning audience member, salutes to you. Do me a solid before y'all leave up out of here, if you would. You know what's coming.
What's the goddamn button? What's the goddamn button?
It's free of charge. Doesn't really require anything. And drop a sub too while you at it. You know, keep up with us with these conversations. Tomorrow's going to be a goodie as well. That's all I got to say about that. I need to do another Cripple Creed paranormal. I don't know when, but you about to say something? I heard the mic unmute.
I was just gonna wait and say bye.
Got you. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, we up out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Monday down, Tuesday right around the corner. This is Assembly of Excellence signing out. Y'all take it easy.